this prayer of the mother. When she first met Sri Aurobindo, on the next day she wrote, "He whom we saw yesterday is here upon earth." And I wonder that the gap between the way we look at life and the way divine looks at life, that is the distance that we need to cover. So when we come to earth, we are like blind people who don't know where to go. We don't know where we come from. We don't know how to navigate through this world. And sometimes we throw our hands in exasperation and say, "What's going on?" That's what ultimately. So, blindness is one part, but to believe that being blind we see and see better, that's where the problem lies. So, we have this great, tremendous fortune of those who can see, who show us what we do not see. This is the beginning of a great journey when we start with an eye which is not normally accessible to us because the mind shuts that eye, and it is the eye of faith. And this eye of faith, as we develop it, develops into the eye of knowledge. So ordinarily when we look around life, it's such a chaos, confusion with all kinds of things happening, and we wonder what's going on, what's all this? So we have a very, in knowledge systems, in science, we have devised certain terms which are very meaningful in their ignorance. Like chance, fit in anywhere, chance. So wherever you don't understand the process, you say chance. Coincidence, another term. Another term which we have, on which we are going to share a few thoughts today, is nature. What is nature? Do we understand it or we don't understand it? We see that this creation is peopled with objects, with all kinds of things, movements, and we wonder what is this appalling immensity of the universe. And we have used a term called nature. Now, when we take a strictly scientific point of view of nature, we take it that this is a material, mechanical, unconscious something, a power, which is unconscious. It's a power, no doubt. Nobody can deny the power when we look at the immensity of the universe, the galaxies, the atoms, all drifting in God knows where, expanding space, changing curves of time. When we look at it, it is appalling. The Gita speaks of it as Ashcharyavat Pashyati Kaschidhenam. It's so wonderful. This delightful, dangerous world. And we don't know what it is about. So we start exploring, and we start with the presumption that nature is unconscious, mechanical. It's a power. How it has come into existence, we don't know. And we try to understand its processes. But spirituality, not as a belief, but through experience, we come to understand that nature is conscious. And this is very logically we can understand it. That if nature is unconscious, how come we have some kind of consciousness? It's called as in logical argument, it's like an evolutionary gap. We are trying to explain something on the basis of something which does not have it. It's like man is a creation of genes, but the genes can't think, but we think. So this is one of the big challenges in the whole understanding of our own creation. So we have some consciousness. So to say that nature is unconscious, but consciousness is emerged out of it, is a bit of a tricky thing. So here Sri Aurobindo gives us a very different understanding that nature is conscious. That changes our whole approach to life and everything. If nature is conscious, that means everything within it has some kind of consciousness. It can't be that nature is partly conscious here and not conscious there. There is consciousness in everything. Everything has existence, this too we understand. And when we try to come in contact with things, we also experience that, understand that it's not only existence and consciousness, everything has within it something which we call as delight. It has the capacity to evoke delight within us. Look at just the drifting of the stars. If one is, going through a state of sadness, and you're fortunate enough you don't want to consult a doctor, look at the stars. It immediately fills us with joy and wonder. Why does it do it? Because joy is inside it and joy is within me. So it come in contact. Another, we have such a beautiful exhibition of flowers. So, mother gives one remedy for depression. I wish I could prescribe it, and it's look at a flower. She's actually said, if you look at a flower, it's a remedy. So sometimes I wish I could just take a flower and give it, but that doesn't work. So look at a flower. But for personally, I've seen looking at flowers, it's something they bring joy. So if we look at this material universe, even the mountains which are raw, which have nothing, no vegetation. I recount going to Ladakh and I was wondering why are we going to see mountains which are nude mountains. They have no vegetation on it. But there is a delight. There is a great joy. So when we look at nature, behind the appearance, we see that there is in it existence, which of course is evident. There is within it a kind of consciousness limited by the form, and there is a delight with which we can come in contact. So what is this? This is the trinity of Indian thought, Satchidananda. So in every atom of existence, there is Satchidananda, Sat, existence. Chit, consciousness, force. There is a force within it. And this is a kind of knowledge. So consciousness is both knowledge and force. Even within the atom, we study the laws of atom. But atom didn't say that make me according to a certain law. We study how ants communicate. But ants have not gone to a school to learn how to communicate. In every atom of existence, there is a limited knowledge, limited force, there is a delight. Limited delight. Everything is limited to the form. So then we understand a great truth that there is a play that is going on between the phenomenal world, nature, forms, which nature creates, and within it, the hidden force, the power, the being, Satchidananda, who is trying to express himself through the forms. This is the original play. So what is nature doing? Nature is constantly building forms and asking, would you like to come in, sir? To whom? To her Lord. A very small but very powerful, overwhelming experience I remember when I was a young child. I'm still a young child, but when technically young child. And I used to argue a lot. Oh no, this is all nature. Typical scientific, logical mind, It's all nature, it's not all nature. Why do you have to bring in God? So everybody in my family were all frustrated. So they took me to my Mamaji. He was, deeply practitioner of yoga with Ramayana and all that. So I told him, this is all nature. So he kept quiet and he just told one word that has struck me till now. The power and impact of the word. And he said in Hindi, I'll recount then translate in English. He said, हाँ बेटा, प्रकृति है, लेकिन इसके पीछे प्रकृति के स्वामी खड़े हैं. Yes, this is nature, but there is behind it the Lord of nature. I don't know why it struck me so deep. It never occurred to me there is a Lord from whom all this has emerged. There must be an origin, a being. Something that is, now I can put it in logical terms, that which is conscious of itself is by nature a being. What is a being? A being is the moment we have self-awareness, we say, I am a being, not because of the body. So there is a being, and all this, that has emerged is from that being. So the original play is between God and nature. Where do we figure in? We are caught somewhere in between. As a story of Khalil Gibran, when somebody falls sick, so he asks the doctor, why has he fallen sick? So, the doctor, that time also Corona was going on. It's, Corona doesn't leave man. So he said, it is because of some infinitesimally small particles. He didn't use the word virus. Infinitesimally small. That's how my known person has fallen so sick. He says, I can't imagine. He's a big man and he's falling to an infinitesimally small particle. So he is not satisfied with the answer. So he goes and asks a mystic, sir, please tell me. Give me an answer. So the mystic says, oh, it is the will of the infinite. Now infinite is very immense. So Khalil Gibran writes that, the paradox that my child was caught between the infinitesimal and the infinite. So, you see, it is when we look at the processes, particles, and everything, the smallest of particle of creation, of nature, So we see that the original game is going on between nature and her Lord. And Sri Aurobindo puts it very beautifully in Savitri. Man, where does man figure in? Man is a dynamo for God's work. Nature does most in him. God the high rest. So what is our role? Only his soul's consent is his own. And if we really look at it ourselves, we call ourselves, but if we really look at it very impersonally, we'll see there's nothing in us which we can really call technically ourselves, whether it be body, intelligence, everything is a gift from nature. So when we look at it this way and try to understand what is this game which is going on, then we have the grand vision of Sri Aurobindo. Because up till now, we are told there is a game going on in nature. It's a terrible game. If you get caught into it, you are stuck. So what do we have to do, sir? Leave it. It's a terrible field to be in. This delightfully dangerous world, come out. So from within nature, processes have developed to go out of nature. Look at the paradox. It gives me the image of nature being as a very smart person who has built left little loopholes. If you have seen some detective movies or, I'm not a big fan of them, but I have understood one thing. Great thieves, they leave, who enjoy their job. They leave a little clue. Arthur Conan Doyle. They leave a little clue through which you can reach out. So nature seems to have left from within herself certain little clues, little doors through which you can enter and come out of herself. Why is she doing it? What is the purpose? So here Sri Aurobindo tells us these doors, oh fool, are not meant for you to go out. It is for God to come in. It is the other way around. You are trying to rush out of these doors, but it is for God to come in. You see this idea of Kundalini ascent and going out, whereas the mother speaks of descent of the force and entering into us. So these little doors which are cut into walls of mud house of nature, and to build these doors, it has taken billions of years. It's only in human beings that we have such doors through which directly we can have the contact with the infinite. Only human consciousness, though finite, has the possibility of becoming one with the infinite. Before that, no other form can do it. And this process of the finite and the infinite coming together is what is called as yoga. Yoga, we have started thinking that it's something abnormal, unnatural. All those who are doing yoga, whether in Auroville or ashram, a little bit of, nutcases. Often we have, for entry into the ashram, you have to ask now, are you normal? No, there is a psychiatric column we have to fill. So I ask a question. Are you normal? So only one person gave me a correct reply, according to me. Said, if I was normal, I wouldn't be here. I said, good. In. Of course, this is not a normal striving, and yet it is a higher normal. See, what nature does is, if you now look at the whole process, it builds a form, very symmetrical, and it breaks the form. Why does it break the form? Little bit it breaks the form so that from within the form, an energy is released and something new comes out. Where was that energy? It was within that form. Now that's how from matter life comes. Where was life in matter? Now of course if you understand life with the processes, we can never, we'll say when the breathing has stopped, somebody is dead. That's a very crude way of looking at things. But if you look at the nature of life, life is always in motion, constantly in motion. We use the word life. Why? Because these creatures can move on their own by definition, one of the definitions. And of course the second is self-replication, multiplication. These are the two definitions of life. Living creatures can move on their own. Material things require an external force. This is the basic thing. So when we look at, is there motion inside atoms? Of course there is motion. It is not seen. It's not visible. It's not tangible. And yet it is moving constantly. That's why the old question that matter has empty space, atoms have, that has become redundant because it's constantly in motion. And there is a very beautiful word describing nature in Isha Upanishad. Yat kincha jagatyam jagat. Jagata is the word used for this creation. No? What is jagata? That which is moving. Gati. Jagatyam Jagat. So constantly within atom there is something struggling, as if, such stupendous energy which is moving inside atom. One day it bursts forth, and we see that a particle is born which is neither living nor dead. Which is that particle? We are very familiar with it. Virus. It is not living, it is not dead, but it carries within it the possibility of life. So what does this virus do? It tacks on to life to draw life from it. That's how it falls a man. If there is, if there is no living being in which the virus is there, it can't survive. But it has the potential of life. See how it evolves. Sri Aurobindo describes it in number of pages in Savitri, what we call as prokaryote. The first emergence of life is look at the uncertain creature, doesn't know. Don't sympathize with the virus, but still, poor fellow doesn't know, am I living or am I dead? Much like us. I was just sharing, our problem is we are transitional beings. See, if somebody says, you are not behaving like human beings, so we say, we are not humans. But you are not behaving like divine beings either. We are not divine. We are caught in between. So poor virus, now we can have a little bit sympathy with the creature, is caught between death and life. But once it picks up life, from the bacteria onwards, look what happens. It goes on till man, or even before. So we see that once nature, it takes long time, billions of years for this first little push. But once it takes place, then it grows and expands and expands and expands. Even when we look at the universe, it's expanding. So we can say in one sense the universe is breathing. Now all this concept has come, breathing earth, breathing universe. We are still having the inhalation of the universe going on. But zeroing on to life. So how does life come out of matter? Because it's there. So what brings it out? Nature. It builds forms and says, please come, please come, please come. Now divine says first, force of life. Before force of life, fire comes. That's how the story goes. Fire comes and fire energizes it. Then life comes, Vayu, Matarishwan, and says, okay, now I'll do my work. And life starts expanding. But there is someone else also waiting in the background, and we see that as living forms evolve, a point comes when again there are beings who are neither this side nor that side. I am skipping all the intermediary species in between which are wiped out, etc. But look at the transition to man, and if a question is asked, can the crow think or not think? When we look at the behavior of a crow, we say, he's a smart fellow, intelligent fellow, he can think. That story of the crow that story is normally recounted as perseverance, but there is another side to the story. Crow is literally dropping stones to make the water level rise up. By the way, this happens if you observe crows. It is a very intelligent behavior. Sri Aurobindo describes this intelligent behavior about a dog called Goldie. So he says how animals have something which is like a rudiment of thought. And he says that once all the doors were closed and Goldie came late, now Goldie wants to enter, it doesn't know what to do. So it remembers that there is a back door of one of the disciples and that may be open. So it leaves the main door and goes there and starts scratching. And sure enough, the door opens and he is let in. So there are very clear instances of an intelligence trying to awaken in higher animals. And then comes out man. So how does nature do it? Again, new possibilities. From where does it draw its store? It draws from the one divine existence, Satchidanand. And step by step it is preparing forms which can inhabit that infinity of infinite existence, infinite consciousness, infinite force, infinite delight. The original four quaternaries of the divine. Now with human beings, so far so good. What happens in human beings? Human beings are characterized not just by thought, but something new has started happening in human beings which we don't see in animals, and that is self-awareness. We are becoming aware of a subjective space inside where there are dreams, where there are ideals, aspirations, hopes. That's why human beings have the strange predicament that we have to think about the future which we don't know, for which we go from soothsayers to palmists to whoever. We are built like, we are programmed to look forward toward the future. So we see in human beings, there are ideas and idealisms which should never die. They don't really die. Even in the person who compromises with everything, deep inside that little idealism is there. So what is it a sign of? That's where Sri Aurobindo tells us, reveals to us, all these aspirations that we carry within our heart are meant to manifest one day. The impossible is the sign of things to be. The gods pick up and choose today's impossibles for the future's base. So what is the sign that the new being, new creation is going to come? The sign is within us. We are not satisfied with our humanity. We may not use the word divine, doesn't matter. That's a word. But definitely we are not, never happy. Man has the boon and the curse of being ever discontented. It's a curse, so he cannot be satisfied with the animal life. Give a man that I'll feed you everything, everything will be provided to you. He won't be satisfied. He will seek something. And so it's a curse, it's also a boon, because therefore he can break free from his humanity into something higher. So nature has built man, programming it for evolution. Look at the beauty of how she has worked, step by step, consciously. All other forms are not ready to inhabit that tremendous influx, but man can. So she has built man. It's beautifully recounted in one of the stories in the Upanishads, where all the gods are asked, this form will you go? They say, nay. This one? No. This one? No. Man, yes, there we can. And they jump into man and they hide within him. If you read the typical, Tantra Shastra and all that, all the gods you find inside human beings, not going into that, details and the technical aspects. But basically, within man, all these gods have entered, and with the purpose that this can be awakened. This finite form looks finite, but it can become one with infinite. We are given this exceptional privilege. That's why we are never satisfied with finite things. Never. It's just not possible. Only thing is, we try to create infinity by two means, both of ignorance. One is by death and rebirth. The whole idea of death and rebirth, the psychic being which nature has developed like a little nucleus within us, is so that we can taste infinity, constant change. Imagine, being in the same body with the same people around. Same body is still okay. Life will become miserable. So people change. This is one ignorant way. And the second ignorant way through which nature tries to create infinity is by outer change. By wanting to, change this, change that, so that we can have the taste of infinity, at least of multiplicity. But both are ignorant ways. So that's why they never succeed. After a point, one feels there is pain and suffering. But the way to taste infinity, that's where yoga steps in. She has devised conscious processes is to use the finite energy given to us to enter into the infinite. How to do it? Any energy, compress it, concentrate it, it'll become very powerful. Concentrate light, it can cut through skin. Concentrate sound, and it can break bridges. Concentrate thought, it will break from the mind, doors of the mind, and enter into infinity of knowledge. Concentrate the little happiness, pleasure, desires in which all our joy of life is spread around. Turn it into will and concentrate that will on one idea, and it will break into infinite force. That will, a lonely thought becomes omnipotent. A prayer, a master act, a king idea can link man's strength to transcendent force. Then miracle is made the common rule. Concentrate the heart, which is attached to, that beautiful in the exhibition, attachment to the divine. It frees us from everything else. So, concentrate all the energies of attachment, which like threads are tied to 100 things, on one single love for the divine. And see, not only are we freed from the, all these attachments which give us pleasure and pain, but we experience the delight of the constant companionship of the divine, which is what we are seeking through love. So, this is how the finite mates with the infinite. This is beautifully expressed in the Upanishad as Vidyancha Vidyancha Yast Dvedo Bhayam Sahat. Both together. Not an escape from finite life into infinite and losing oneself. Not remaining stuck in the finite, saying that this is life, accept it. No, this is not life. We are not meant to lead this life. But to make the finite mate with the infinite. This is the next project which is going on in nature. Nature has led us to there, here, and now it's taking us further. So it is not something abnormal or unnatural that is happening. It is the most natural, logical extension of what nature has been doing so far. Well, it doesn't happen in everyone, that is true. Every animal in the savannas didn't become man. That's how it is. In the Ramayana, we have Bali and Sugriv. Bali is too happy with his might. So Bali falls out of the evolutionary path. Sugriv is he's also very strong, but ever unsure. So at the end, he takes refuge in Rama and says, please, I want Sandhi with you. You see, these stories are so symbolic. What does it mean? Sandhi is literally to join. So he says, in front of the fire. It's very beautifully described in Ramayana. And you wonder why is the poet describing in such great detail. So he is the animal which has risen to great heights. But he feels that he is still not fully, he's not too comfortable. This is actually biologically also, there were two kinds of apes. One evolved, the other fell out. And the ape that evolved was a little less than the best ape. See, in human beings also, we'll see these two types. There are human beings who are very accomplished singers, accomplished dancers, accomplished scientists, too satisfied. Tell them about divine, tell them about this possibility. It's very difficult. Why? Because they have to leave behind the peak on which they have reached. But there is somebody who is struggling and striving, but seeks something greater, is moving the evolutionary path. The mother recounts this very beautifully. She says one of the things that when she came, she asked Sri Aurobindo. Look at mother asking this. Beauty. I find it a very sweet anecdote. She said, why is everything in me so mediocre? I can't. I don't like it. Mother saying she's mediocre. But anyways, she is saying it, okay. When you look at a painting, the new music. But she said, why is it that everything in me is so mediocre? There is also a prayer of her like that. So Sri Aurobindo says, it's good. It's good because many-sidedness is better than specializing along one line. You see, that's why Sri Aurobindo's yoga is not like a specialized yoga. In the very first page of synthesis, he makes clear. Specialized methods have an advantage but a big disadvantage because they don't include everything. So in this yoga, you pick up some sutras, otherwise everybody is at loss, everybody is practicing in his own way. Precisely because it's a vast universal, like nature, as vast as nature. Nature is doing the yoga in one way, in mountain, in another way, in a river. In mountain, nature is striving to reach the sky and touch the clouds. In river, it's flowing toward the sea. In flowers, it is blooming as beauty. Flowers are and in each one, it gives a symbolic hint of the soul. You see, in material nature, what is the hint of the soul? Is mountains, climbing, aspiration. If one sees the mountain in a vision or a dream, it is the sign of aspiration in matter. That's why we see the ascending triangle, matter aspiring. That's how Sri Aurobindo describes it. In vegetable world, it is flowers. They are the outpouring of the psychic element in creation. In animal world, birds. See, birds are very interesting creatures. One wonders why they came between the reptile and the four-footed. It's an evolutionary advantage at one level. You cannot be hunted upon except by man who comes and, but otherwise birds, they can just fly. So, because they represent the psychic element. In dreams, if you see bird, it's generally a sign of some psychic energy or even of the soul. And in human beings, it is that uncertain creature, just a little below that highest point, the Sugriv and not the Bali, who wants to do Sandhi with the Lord. He's humble enough to say, I can't beat this creature called Bali. So I need your help. And he unites with the Lord in presence of the fire. That's the Sandhi. And then the Lord takes over his burden. very touching story. Very often people say, you know, what did Rama do? Hiding behind the trees, he's shooting. Is it a right thing or a wrong thing? And Rama would say, I don't care about the right and wrong of it. I have come to do what is right from the dharma point of view. That's all. You can discuss and debate. Shubinda has an aphorism on that. Rama killed Vali. Who can say whether it is right or wrong? But this we know intuitively that he acted divinely. This we know intuitively. Now this is very strange, that because then the divine takes over our burden. He doesn't care. People may tell him that you are doing something wrong. Why are you saving Arjuna? Why don't you stand impartial like Balaram and say, okay, I will pour my strength on Karna and on Arjuna. So we are passing through a moment of transition. This is practical implication, these stories. So while all human beings are one, all creation is one from one point of view, but there are this nucleus of humanity. And the mother uses a word which should not be used in a, pejorative sense, that the elite of humanity. And she calls this elite is not those who are, highly specialized and all that. Elite. She has used something similar for a kind of humanity which is, Shobinda has a whole essay on bourgeois and the samurai. So some is a group of humanity which wants something greater, higher, nobler, more beautiful, more divine. They're not satisfied with the modicum of necessities. They're not satisfied with the splendors of heaven. They want that which is perfect, the ideal, the true. Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram. There is a group of humanity. All over the world. That's how she gave that message. In all countries, there are those who feel it. It is to them we call, will you collaborate? She's asking them to come to collaborate. And then she created this beautiful space called Auroville. That's how we are connected in aspiration. Whatever be our outer, wherever we may have come from, but we are connected in this aspiration that we want something greater, more beautiful, for life on earth, not for ourselves. It's not a yoga done for mukti and all that, personal salvation and all that stuff. We do feel that anguish of the earth. We inherit the anguish of the globe. That's why we are human. But we also inherit the aspiration of the globe. That's why we are human. And we inherit the fulfillment bequeathed to earth. That's why we are human. That is the beauty. Because we bequeath a destiny which is given to earth. Now when we look at it like this, we discover that all this is so logical. Even in yoga, what do? It's not something unnatural. Nature's processes, thought, emotion, will, they are all nature's processes. They're not something we get from outside. And what we have to do is to concentrate. And second, the Sandhi, Sugriva and Rama. The union of the human and the divine. And where is the union that takes place? In front of the fire. It's not something to be seen outwardly. It's not how many times somebody has gone to temple or visited a mosque, or 5 times one has prayed or gone to Sunday church. None of those things. It is there in the sacred temple, sanctum sanctorum of a heart, where the union takes place. And once the divine says yes, you see, Sandhi involves 2 things. You put your hand and the Lord catches it and says yes. The mother says something very interesting about it. When you say to the Lord in all sincerity that I am yours, and the Lord says yes. You see, there are two aspects. You have done the yagna, has started. But for some time you are just offering. You don't know. A time comes when the divine says yes. So he says, and the Lord has said yes, then the whole world cannot keep you away. So he stands by your side. And doesn't matter. You see the story of Rama. Even the Asura, Vibhishna, comes and he accepts. So it is this yoga takes place within, in the fire of aspiration. What are we really seeking from life? It all depends on that. We may go to the mother and just say, Mother, protect my children, make sure they study well. She will say, okay, because she's the divine mother. But when we go to her to say that, make me what you would want me to be. This too is nature. Human beings are also nature. Creation of nature. But nature has created within us something. She has lit a fire within us in collusion with the Lord, so that man can become ready for this union of the finite with the infinite. And where will this journey go? That we have Sri Aurobindo's beautiful vision. First, that consciousness, infinite consciousness, will manifest in the brain. So she says we need brains that are powerful enough. This is the seat of consciousness from which it descends. If the brain is not powerful enough, it will break down. So we see that also, that in the journey, sometimes, as Amal Kiran puts it humorously, in trying to become supramental, we become infradental or inframental. It's okay. Hazards of the way. That's okay. So, the brain, it needs, Mother has actually used the word, it needs brains powerful enough. Powerful enough means brain which are supple and wide. Which means brains not stuck into rigid dogmas, belief systems, one-sided understanding of things. Even Sri Aurobindo's yoga, anybody says this is how it is to be done, it is not to be done. This is how it may be done for him. But for each one it will unfold. So brain which is wide and plastic and supple and strong enough to bear the light. The golden light came down into my brain, the grey rooms of my mind, sun-touched became a calm illumination and a flame, a bright reply to wisdom's occult plane. So the brain, then this descending current comes down, it comes into the heart, and the heart begins to throb, and we don't know what's happening. This is a new, not ischemic heart disease, but ischemia is when there is less blood supply. When there is abundant love, then also there is another kind of disease, over congestive heart disease. Divine love flows and the heart is not able to contain it. It overflows, it spills, and the heart has to learn. It is a new adaptation. Every new species that emerges, there is a challenge. The challenge is between the new thing which is emerging and the form. It's simple to understand it through a event in everyday life. What happens when a new member comes into a house? Whether it be a partner moving in, whether it be a child who is coming, what happens? Suddenly what is taken away from you? Your freedom. But you get something else. And then slowly they have to adapt to each other. And after adapting, something new comes out through this process of interchange. This is exactly what happens. When this new consciousness comes in, there is a kind of initially maladaptive behaviors. When mother was told that, mother says, I have heard that many people in America are going mad. Now the wave has reached everywhere. So, see, the disciple says yes. He says, then she laughs and says, it's good, very good. For the time being, it is very good. Can you imagine? It's very good. It means it is breaking the old pattern. It breaks the old patterns. And the new is not yet in sight. So, but after some time, the brain adapts. It learns to handle that force, or the force learns to handle it. And there are actual changes that take place in the brain cells. As the mother has said, when you read Sri Aurobindo, the brain cells change. They begin to change, to adapt to this new force. This is the new evolution going on within nature. Then the heart, the change of heart is very difficult, because the heart constantly acts on the basis. It's programmed to act in such a way that except what it interests and concerns its own interests, the heart is indifferent. So when does the heart flutter? When some desire, something is going to. That's how it. But there are people whose sympathy reaches out to far away places. So heart is growing wider. It's not confined to my family members, my little mohalla. So it's not, it is reaching out to vast area. Then it's supple enough to look beyond the outer appearances. So this is the next step, where the heart. Then the life, motives of life begin to change. Instead of the motive being only serving my own selfish interest, mother says Superman, when she describes, she says it will be impossible for the Superman to act from any personal selfish motive. Impossible. Even if it tries, it won't happen. I mean, it won't try because it won't come. One of the signs he gives about the Superman is it will be impossible to act from any personal selfish motive. Freed from that. How will be the social law of such a human being? Or it being in transition, that also she describes. Because the human laws and rules are built by the mind for certain purposes. It's a kind of mental order. But the Superman, and she described very beautifully, For human being, one becomes a human being when one uses moral and reason to control the vital parts of our animal vital parts. One becomes a Superman when one masters the mind and the vital by something greater, and that is the intuition. It's the law which will emerge from within. That's why we see today children. You try to tell them, do this, don't do this. They say, please, I'll figure it out. There will be transition, there will be confusion, there will be problems, no doubt, because it's a. But they want to figure it out within, isn't it? This is a new phenomena. If you see 50 years back, and our parents don't know, they are at dismay, they are at loss. They say that, in our time we used to, whatever our papa told us, we listened to it. So today's children say, but that was your time, Dad. It is our time. So it's not that they are bad children, we don't understand them. That's why special education is required. Because these are children moving from normal to supernormal, not from, that. So they don't know, they are confused inside. They are trapped within a body which looks human, but they are not human. So this transition has started. And finally, the very body has to adapt. So even in the body we see many new things are happening. The strong differences between genders and all this slowly getting blurred, and something new is going to emerge. But that is still a... Body also has to become plastic and white. These are the two things required. So you see how nature has created means for the body to become plastic and white is travel. See, go travel from New York to New Delhi and see what happens. The body has to adapt to everything. Food, the atmosphere, the jet lag, everything, people. So body is impacted today by forces which are beyond our reckoning. The supramental force, of course, but many forces which are seemingly harmful, but they are all going to transmute this body into something new. And finally, in this process of nature's evolution, so it takes place like this, that a new thing nature brings out. But all the past, the form is the last to accept it. So mother describes an experience in 1958. She gave a message. "O mother material nature, thou hast consented to collaborate, and there is no end or limit to your collaboration." So then she explains. She says what it means is that this new substance, new consciousness that came in 1956, nature was not hesitant to accept it. It said, what is this new thing? I am having my play. I am building forms, breaking them. It's cool. It's wonderful. What's the problem? So nature says, I am enjoying this play. What is this new game? Instead of 5-day cricket match, why are you bringing T20? I don't like it. It's too fast a game. Now nobody likes to watch 5-day, no? Because everybody is stuck to T20. So nature says, why are you bringing this rapid evolutionary pace and this new thing? So there is a beautiful story where mother recounts that she understood nature and she became like nature and started playing with her this new game. She said, see, touch this new consciousness, touch it. So nature comes and touches, oh, this feels good. Oh, this is something wonderful. I can really do much more. My creativity has become endless. And then a time comes when nature says, okay, I accept it. The mother describes that experience, that new substance got incorporated in material nature. This has been foreseen way back. The whole Shivlingam which we are worshipping, which many people worship, is the union of divine soul, Shivlingam. The Shiva is the column of light, and the Yoni, material nature, receiving the Lord. That's how it is. So it is that union which has been foreseen of Lord. Spirit and matter becoming one. So that fusion, she said, okay, accept it. And then she says, the children that are going to be born subsequently are going to be different. Because they will have within them a supramental chip, unseen. So they will be all neither here nor there, not identified with this nor yet there. And we don't have to worry. Sometimes people say, oh, it is only for people after 1956 or 1960. So what about us? We were born in 1940, I can see. So we have hope in rebirth. We'll be born post-COVID era. So 1960, afterwards, we'll again come back. What is there? In new bodies. No, I am out. I am in 1960, so I am safe. Safe zone. Safe zone. But it is a constant journey. So very often when, people who say, oh, these children, they are, so spoiled, they are with iPhone and iPad, look at them. So sometimes I tell them, don't worry, we believe in rebirth, no? Yes, so you are going to come and do exactly same. Then your children today will be parents say, look at this child, he is born and he wants an iPad for gift. It's an accelerated fast forward evolution, and nature will create ways and means which can't imagine, So this is a process which is going on in nature. It's a yoga of nature that is going on. The only two, these original, we have moved far away from our conception of yoga. Man does yoga, everything man has to do. He was not even consulted before creation, and yoga starts there. Shri Krishna says in the Gita, you want to see my Ashwara of yoga? Look, all these beings is me. That's how he shows his Vishwarupa. And then he says, I maintain the creation through yagna, original yagna. I'm paucity of time not entering into what that yagna is. But yoga is done by God and nature. That's all we have to remember. And man's role is to say yes. So nature will present to us many kinds of food, including the raita. So it will present, it has everything, it has all array of forces. It will say, you want this? So if we want pleasure, he'll say, okay, take it. Long time. Then he'll present another kind of food. So when it is said that tene tyaktene bhunjita, I have to renounce. Renounce for a greater delight. You renounce pleasure for delight, not for just becoming blank. People don't understand. So he'll present you pleasure. You want pleasure? So you say, yes, very nice, thrilled. He'll say, okay. You eat it, then you say that, but I'm not feeling well. Well, it was written there, you didn't read it. What was written? By one pleasure and two sickness called pain will come to you. But why you are punishing me? No, not punishing, helping you. Because if you get a little pain, you want to go next level. So, okay, next time I won't have pleasure. So he'll say, oh, that's simple. I'll bring it in another form. Very deceptive form. So that is how the soul learns and grows. Learn through failure and grow through fall. And it takes so slowly from pleasure, it goes on to happiness. Slightly more better. And then happiness also, after some time you get bored, happiness. What is happiness? You want to go further. Then it brings something still deeper. Joy becomes deeper. Then felicity, very subtle felicity. Felicity is an inner state where joy is fusing with peace and calm. Otherwise, joy can give a thrill. Pleasure is extreme thrill. Thrill of the senses. Happiness, joy. Then felicity is something which is calm. Then we are ready for ecstasy and bliss. So this is the journey. Slowly it will present all kinds of food before us. But the option is you can't have this and that together. You choose, then yes, you can go back to the world. That's a later part, that when the consciousness is one with the infinite. So this yoga is in 3 stages. One is we are in the world, we don't care about anything greater. Then we want the divine. Then narrowing down of consciousness and journey to the divine. Leave the world outside. Yan mansana manute yena hurmanomatang. Find the divine, find the divine, find the divine. Then when we have found the divine, return back to the world. And let that infinite consciousness, infinite love, infinite ananda, infinite peace pour upon creation, upon bird and beast and stone and man. And that completes the trilogy of Sri Aurobindo's yoga. I'll stop here with some lines from Savitri, which so many beautiful lines, But I'll read just a small little passage where Sri Aurobindo describes the yoga of nature, material nature. Several places. This whole thing is about, yoga of nature eventually uniting with the Lord. This is on page 4. When the Divine Mother comes and He's giving us an image, every day we see it, light comes. In Ana, He describes steps and stages of that light. And here he is describing when that light comes. So what is that light? It is the light coming from the other shore of the boundlessness. It is the light of the divine consciousness. And as it comes, what happens? Is the touch of the Divine Mother upon earth. Earth felt the imperishable's passage close. The light has come and the doors are closed. It is here to stay. The waking ear of nature heard her steps. Mother says the first to respond will be nature in terms of flowers. They will respond first. We thought man is special. Then there will be animals and very simple human beings. Then mom, great mom, when will our time come? Complex human beings, highly qualified. So you say your time will also come. But the difference is when a person who is intellectually very developed, that receives this force, the brain is strong and supple enough. And then the result is fantastic if such a person can develop faith. So this is the difference. So right now, the description of nature, we see how mother's birth we had yesterday and how the whole nature comes to know. It prepares through the seasons for receiving the flame child. And then what happens? And wideness turned to her its limitless eye, and scattered on sealed depths her luminous smile kindled to fire the silence of the worlds. She kindles the fire everywhere, all along, even soil to man. Air was a vibrant link between earth and heaven. We are speaking about the fire. First thing that is lit up is fire of aspiration. Then the air. What does air do? Maruts, they carry this fire. So there must be dynamism. It's not enough to say I have an aspiration, but there is no dynamism to feed that. So maruts, the fire, the air. So air was a vibrant link between earth and heaven. So they are the ones who will carry the whole aspiration, the dynamic push. The wide-winged hymn of a great priestly wind. Who is singing the hymn when there is a mantra? Who chants the mantra in nature? The winds. Yesterday we had in the morning Kali mantra. And then we had nice, gentle Maheshwari mantra. And then in the morning we had nice Mahalakshmi mantra. All is becoming beautiful. So there are mantras which are being chanted by nature. We see he is freeing us. Great priestly wind arose and failed upon the altar hills. Where is the altar of this yagna going on? Hills, representing the aspiration in material nature. First, if you go to the hills, the air, the breeze that flows, amazing. By the time it comes to plains which represent the lowest parts of creation, it loses unless the whole thing comes down. Otherwise, first you will feel it in the hills. It's so powerful. The high boughs prayed in a revealing sky. See, he's giving us a new drishti now. All the branches of the tree climbing upwards, they are all upturned toward the skies. And they are praying for that light to receive. We must also be receptive. So light is there, but we are walking like this, all shut to all the beauty. Then how will we receive? So we must be open to receive that light. So this is a sign. Some people take it that if I do this gesture, I will receive. It's a sign that we, instead of being closed, we open to the divine. It's an inner opening. The trees teach us. They are our teacher. All nature is a teacher. So it teaches us that, look, be open to the sun, to the light, as flowers, as the trees. Trees find a way to reach out to the flower, to the sun. This is how our life should be. That any obstacle between us and the sun, it should find a way. It doesn't matter. That famous short story of Diogenes and Alexander. Alexander goes and meets him. Diogenes is a sannyasi living in a dog's, manger, the tub. And Alexander comes and stands in front of him and says, I am Alexander the Great. Diogenes opens his eyes and says, I am Diogenes the dog. What does it matter who you are? So Alexander says, you don't know, I am the emperor of the world. Whatever you ask, I can give you. So he says, is it? Yes. So please move out of my way. Give me that. Why you are coming between me and the sun? Your shadow is falling upon me. I am bathing in the sun. Don't you see? Give me that. Move out of my way. Look at the whole story. So beautiful and symbolic. So the trees behave like that. You put an in, they'll find a way. Life should be like that. We get too much uljod. New word. Like we get too much, haggled, bogged down with everything that is happening in our life. The only thing important is to find the way to the light. For a river, the only thing important is to find the ocean. That's all. All the rest is all, spirit bujhaye keval pyas. So that's how it is. The high boughs prayed in a revealing sky. Here, where our half-lit ignorance skirts the gulf. She has not come only for Rishi Muni, Tapasvis sitting out there in Himalayas. Here, even in the soil of common nature, she came for all. Whether we are ready to receive or not, that's a different question. Sometimes the tapasvis are not ready to receive. They are too much egoistically absorbed in the tapasya, closing their eyes, and if the divine comes, they will say, who are you? I am divine. No. I have a conception of the divine, impersonal. I want to meet the impersonal. So that the divine passes away. So sometimes tapasvis miss, whereas you ask the little stone, I am the divine. Oh, I have been waiting for you. Do you know who I am? No, I don't know, sir. I just am waiting for your touch. So he touches, and what happens to stone? Gautam Nari Ahilya Tari. It turns into a goddess. That's a story in Ramayana. By the touch of Lord Rama, that pashan, that stone becomes a goddess. So this is what is the advantage of being not reading too many books. But please read Mother and Shobinda books. They free us. They don't give us concepts in which our minds can be captured. They free us from them and open us to the infinite. Here where a half-lit ignorance skirts the gulfs on the dumb bosom of the ambiguous earth. It's delightful, so nobody wants to leave it. It's dangerous, so everybody feels uncertain about it. Ambiguous earth. Here where one knows not even the step in front, though scientists will predict second wave of corona, third wave of corona. So ask him, do you know, sir, what is going to happen in your life next moment? No, we don't know. Stay, please. Nature can handle. So knows not. Please edit this, huh? Otherwise, how dare you? And truth has her thrown on the shadowy back of doubt. Is it not? On this anguished and precarious field of toil, outspread beneath some large, indifferent gaze, impartial witness of our joy and bale, our prostrate soil bore the awakening ray. Even this mud and matter can receive her. Even this stone, clod can receive her. That's why Shobinda says, he who disdainest not the worm to be, nor even the clod, therefore we know by that humility that thou art God. And thankfully he doesn't charge any fees for us. So if fees is being charged, $1,000 for God realization, please stay away. God doesn't charge fees. He pours lavishly. Lavishly, beyond measure. Only all that he says, please, are you ready to receive? Here too, the vision and prophetic gleam lit into miracles, common, meaningless shapes. So this is what we see every day, the yoga of nature. It has reached to a point where unconscious yoga can become conscious yoga. This is the difference between that which is below man, yoga is going on, but through billions of years, unconsciously. But man can consciously engage in yoga. And that is why there is something called as education for human beings. Precisely, it's a sign that we acknowledge that we can consciously evolve. We don't use this word. But all education is basically an implicit acceptance that there is a conscious evolution possible. And now we have to go beyond the schooling of nature to the free progress school of the infinite. Thank you. So it's exactly 6, but if somebody has a question for 10 minutes, I don't know what is the format. Yes, please.
that create a vast gap between the nature?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. So you see, at one level, all technology is a biological amputation, isn't it? That's how it is told. It develops one aspect, but like, when you use calculators, the memory capacity can go, it's known thing. There are very good jokes on that also, but that may. So, but that apart, so at one level, we see that human capacity in certain fields is diminishing. Do you know what she describes in terms when mother in her early conversations, she describes about, the use of a faculty which gets atrophied when a new being is to come. The birds stop flying and fall on the ground, they grow into four-footed creatures. The swimming creature cannot, swim anymore and is born as a tadpole, the uncertain mix. So what will happen over a period of time, this technology will paradoxically lead to an attrition of even a rational faculty. See, sometimes when technology is too much, you lose that. Have you seen how on smartphone they will suggest? And sometimes it can be so annoying. You're typing a word and it is auto-corrected. And if you send it, you feel so stupid. And it's a smartphone. It's a smartphone. So it will happen with human beings also. You can see that the way that high philosophies which people used to construct, those who find Sri Aurobindo difficult, please read Immanuel Kant and you'll find this is much easier. Okay? Right? Or in Indian context, Shankaracharya. All extremely complicated. Sri Aurobindo is very direct and simple, But so what will happen is, man's mental capacity is getting exhausted in the process. It is reaching to a point where it's so dependent on technology that the use of reason is going to be diminished. So you will see two kinds of humanity emerge through this process. One who will search for something higher and will surge towards an intuitive light. And the other who, because they are so dependent on technology, will fall down. This has been predicted by the mother. So use technology, but don't become dependent on it. Keep the heart and the flame in the heart alive. The technology cannot give us that. So, like anything else, it's an instrument, equipment, by all means. But this is going to happen over a period of time. There will be a kind of whole humanity which is so dependent, which has lost this and lost that, and it falls back. This is a prophesied. And the mother speaks about it when she prophesies about humanity. But there is a handful who, in spite of all this, will keep this flame alive. The sign will be no amount of technology and everything will be able to satisfy this thirst inside. How can technology satisfy my thirst for love? It cannot. How can it give to my mind an error-free intuitive knowledge which never errs? How can it take me to the home of truth, the stable basis of all things? So, but this is a passage through which humanity has to go through. So it's a passage, and the safety lies in this truth that, all said and done, the divine calls the last shot. And he reserves the best for himself. Mother describes it in a small story where Ravana and Rama are, facing each other, and Ravana keeps blabbering. And Rama says at the end, okay, you want to fight or you want to only talk? So, Sri Aurobindo puts it in an aphorism, the 3 steps of the Titan. So when Shumb Nishumb, they meet Kali, they challenge her to a wrestle, then they catch her hair, then they swirl her into the sky. Can you imagine? The Titan catching, who is Kali? Kali is the tremendous power in nature that changes time. So they have caught that power of time and they are swirling her in the air. And then he says, 4th strike. And next, Kali slew them. That's it. Sudden, unexpected. Because when you do that, it will fall upon you. So Kali is the power which changes time. So when you try to do that, a time comes when it falls upon you. It's all inbuilt within creation. So we are safe. everybody is safe. Yeah. Any other question? हाँ. हाँ, बोलिए कमल जी. हाँ.
ये गूगल गुरु का क्या होना है?
Google Guru. Same thing, Google Guru. So now everybody is turning to Google for every little thing. So what is happening is same problem which she raised, that this kind of technology. So man will reach a point where again his reason, the way he would arrive at truth. And there is a reason why this is happening. And when we are pressed extreme compression, then we suddenly a surge comes to escape. I'll give an example. You are being led by nice people who have come to accompany you, but to a prison house. And they are all taking you with third part. This is a real story I'll tell you that I'll slightly modify it, but it's something I had seen on the road. Once I was driving a scooter and I saw in front of me a man who was driving a Luna. And behind him he had a goat which was tied to the Luna. And the goat was munching something, because he was feeding the goat so that it doesn't try to run away. So the goat was tied, it couldn't have run away, but it was additionally feeding the goat something. And the goat was looking at me and as if saying, see what enjoyment. This part is all, story. So I said, yeah, I know you are being taken to the slaughterhouse, you don't know that. So I presume when the goat is taken to the slaughterhouse and is placed on the altar of Kali, in the name of Kali, what she would have done. Lord, free me from this. She was enjoying it all the way. So human beings are being led to a point where they will feel so stifled. See the stories of the great deluge, stories of, Moses escaping everybody through the Nile, all these stories. There is a point where human consciousness feels so stifled. Initially, it feels very nice, somebody is providing me everything. But a time will come when the consciousness will feel so stifled that it will end up saying, after all the technological development, see, I have only one word of advice for you: stay hungry, stay foolish. Because it realizes that by knowing too much, they miss the one thing to be known. Yes, please.
Look at the same thing in a different sense, that can the supramental being not be AI itself, which is...
Okay, yeah. So obviously, supramental being will not be AI, because AI is a technology, is an extension of the being itself. So when we use the word AI, it's an artificial intelligence, means the AI, the limit of AI will always be the limit of human beings. See, this is a big debate which has gone on, even Isaac Asimov has talked about it. But what it will miss, which any machine misses, that's something which is unique within nature. See, it comes back to the same question, whether everything just a mechanical unfolding of nature, or there is something which though has entered nature but is other than nature. That's where we have the whole Indian thought about the soul, the psychic being, that little something which is a divine element. So AI can on its own do certain it can calculate and do things. It can speak. But the whole thing is, can an AI aspire? If it can aspire for a better world, dream of something very beautiful, then it is no more an AI but DI. That is divine intelligence. So I suppose and I hope, I've been leaving apart other things which obviously AI won't have. That's one line of thought. We can have information chips in the brain, organ transplant, but still, that's different from the transformation of the body. It will still be subject. It's composed of parts which will still be subject to degeneration. Even if you have parts which can live long, all that we can surmise. But the real difference between a machine, however sophisticated, even if it can calculate everything more than man, even if you can put emotions, that is also going on. If not the range of emotions, something like an emotion, even if you can put scent and everything. Still, what is unique to human being is the capacity to self-reflect and evolve consciously. That aspiration which marks a man. That's why the Gita gave a very beautiful description of man. After which, that Shri Krishna anticipated AI. That's how I put it. So he described man in a way. He said, Shraddha Mayo, man is his faith and will to be. So if an AI can have faith and will to be, then it's different. But we know it that that's stretching it too far. But man has a faith and will to be, therefore man is more appropriately qualified for DI. the divine intelligence. And between DI and HI, human intelligence, he should have SI, spiritual intelligence. Okay, so AI, but let people proceed. Nature enjoys. As I said, new toys. It will say, no, don't try supramentalization, all that some crazy people in, Pondicherry and other elsewhere. I'll give you something which will look like supramentalization. So it will create AI. You see, you be satisfied with it. And if you are satisfied with it, then you miss the original. One small story you may have heard. When I was a child, we used to hear a bhajan. And the bhajan was that Kana mange khel khilona matu Yashoda Maiya se. Krishna baby, he is asking his mother Yashoda, I want a toy to play with. So, okay, she brings all toys. He said, no, not this, not this, not this. So what do you want? I want the moon. Where does she get moon? But like a doting mother, she wants to give something. So she takes a bowl and puts water in it, and the moon's reflection comes. Says, see, I've got the moon here. Krishna looks there, smiles and says, Mom, don't cheat me. So nature is like that. You want the moon? I'll bring the moon here. And that's where human discernment lies. That whether I am satisfied with the makeshift artificial fake or I want the original. So imagine the difference. We are given the possibility of becoming one with the Creator who has created billions of stars, galaxies, human beings, all this. And on the other hand, this little AI toy, a very good toy, that is the choice which man has to make. And I'm not saying it is good or bad. Nothing is good or bad. But nature will try to give us many things which will lure us further. And we have to make a choice between what is permanent, eternal, lasting, of value, and what is temporary, like all toys. That's where the human discernment comes. Yes, anything else? If not, we can stop. Okay, thank you so much.